more space back here. Seems like it anyway. Maybe because it's not as many people.
That too.
Anytime I'm here, it's like packed. Why did you? Yeah, that was random. Oh, your thing's not up.
It's up now.
It's about to come up.
Are you about to start the stream? I don't know. Wait, did you say something?
Seconds. Checking this mics are unmuted.
All right, so welcome back everybody to another week, another episode of my show. I'm Jordan, and this is Taking a Different Perspective, where I talk, discuss, review, and analyze all things film and media. So today's episode, as you can tell from the title, is going to be another review episode. There were some more new movies that came out, so we of course got to talk about them. On July 4th, the fourth installment of the Purge series, the first Purge, premiered, and then 2 days later, on July 6th, the sequel to Ant-Man and the Wasp premiered. So those are going to be the two movies that will be reviewed today. But before we get into those reviews, as you can see for today's episode, I am not by my lonesome. I have another special guest that is going to be here with me today to talk about these reviews. So guest, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Stacey Jordan, and that's pretty much who I am.
So for a lot of people that watch this show, if you didn't know, Stacey actually had a show on this same network, the WBGR network, called The Real Husbands of Largo. But about 2 months ago, you guys made a transition over to WHUR.
That's right. Went over to WHUR, and we're just the husband show now, but still having all the same fun, bringing those great relationship topics. It's still a good show. I love it.
Okay, and so how was that whole transition been like for you, like going from this to a station like WHUR?
Well, it's been different just because we had some changes. I mean, still putting on the show, it's the same amount of work. I don't know if it looks easy to people. I hope it looks easy to them, but it's not. It's hard work, and so I still have to prepare the same. It is a lot more coming at me because just the different platform. A lot of people know that platform historically, you know, a lot of people know that platform. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of exposure too, a lot of experience. I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm working hard, maybe a little bit harder, but I think
it'll all pay off in the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's paying off some now, but hopefully it keep on paying off and better and better. So yeah.
So do you just talk about relationships on the show?
Well, it's a relationship show, but we actually looked at relationships, life, society through the lens of a husband. That's why it's called The Husband Show. So we're not only talking about relationship issues, but the thing is, everything in life revolves around relationships. You know, whether it's country to country, that's a relationship. You know, so we may talk about world events, we may talk about politics. You know, we talk a lot about women's issues because, you know, a large part of my life is dealing with women. I got a wife and 3 daughters. So, you know, a lot of that, you know, relationships is a part of life. So we can cover a lot of different topics because we're talking about relationships.
All right. And so go ahead and tell the people where it is that they can find you, the time and day of the show, where it is that they could tune in, if they wanted to watch it, and anything else that you felt the need to plug.
Well, you can watch the show every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on Facebook at Real Husbands of Largo. That's the Facebook page. Or you can just go to WHUR.com and watch the show. You can follow me at Stace the Speaker on Instagram, on Twitter, and I'm just Stacey Jordan on Facebook. Yeah, check us out this week. We'll have a great show. We're going to be talking about whether there aren't that many good men, or do you not know how to pick a good man even if you saw him?
That sounds like the Twitter topics that they be having all the time.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to go deep this week, but yeah.
Okay, so are you ready to talk about these movies?
I am, Jordan. I've been chomping at the bit. I know that my commentary won't be quite as educated, sophisticated as yours, but I'm going to get emotional about it. Let's go.
All right, so we're gonna start out with the first Purge. So it stars Lex Scott Davis, and these next two names, I don't know if I'm saying them right, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Wylan No. He actually plays Daniel from Insecure, and then Jovan or Joyvan Wade, not too sure, and then Marissa Tomei. Of course, there are other people in the movie, but they're not big name actors, and they're also not like main characters. So I'm just gonna give y'all those 4 names. Now, this movie serves as the prequel to all of the other Purge movies, and it was basically meant to show us how the Purge came to be. So, had you seen the other Purge movies, and if you did, what were your thoughts on those?
I did. I saw all of the Purge movies. The first one with Ethan Hawke. I don't remember everybody else who was in it. I think I remember liking it. I think I do. It's been a while. I think the first one came out in 2015, something like that.
Earlier than that. I feel like, yeah. I want to say 2013.
Okay.
I believe.
So it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
I've only seen it all the way through one time. It was pretty suspenseful. I think I remember that. It being suspenseful. And then there was the one, I think the second one was the guy's looking for revenge for his son getting killed. Is that the one?
Yeah, like running around the city.
Right. And then the third one was him again. And
election year.
Yeah, election year. Yeah. I did see them all compared to the other ones. You know, as I'm watching it, obviously they're trying to do something. There's a message going out, right? You see these, the first Purge, like a lot of things, it seems like an experiment. It starts off like an experiment in the hood, like the Tuskegee experiment or something like that. You know, which is something that's real. They went that route, but they didn't connect for me. You know, it didn't connect. I compared to the others, I don't know. It seemed like it lost its way to me. You know?
I feel you. So in terms of like my thoughts about the other movies before this first Purge, I mean, I kind of already talked about this already when I at first like reacted to the poster that had come out for this movie however many months ago. But I said that basically like concept wise, I think that these movies are great. They're thought provoking. They have potential. But when it comes to the actual execution of those ideas, I think that they come up a bit short. And I think that a big reason as to why that is I feel like these movies don't really push the boundaries in the way that they should. The movies also feel a bit amateurish to me. Now, granted, I understand that they don't have the biggest budget, but the budget doesn't necessarily affect the ideas and how you choose to execute them in the way that I'm sure a lot of people do. So I guess if I had to sum up my feelings about the other Purge movies, I just feel like they're wasted potential. But when it came to this movie, when I heard about it and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to lie, I had hope that maybe this movie would do what the other movies hadn't been able to do. But like you said, so like, did you have any initial thoughts about this one before going into it?
I didn't see a whole lot of previews going in, but as soon as the movie came on, it felt low budget to me. As I was watching it, it felt low budget, and then the actors, it just seemed like a bunch of college kids in hood face, you know, pretending to be from the hood. I mean, I hated it. I hated that part of it. I just really didn't enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy it. I would have, if it weren't for you telling me to see it and knowing I was going to be here, I would have walked out of the Purge. The first Purge, I would have walked out on that.
Yeah, so we basically felt the same way. This movie, the first Purge, was muy disappointing. It's just, like, even though, I mean, granted, I didn't go into the movie expecting for it to be amazing, but like I said, I had hopes that it was going to be great, even though I noticed this clear problem with the other movies. Like I said, I had hope. Now, looking back on all that in retrospect, I do think that was pretty naive thinking on my part because, well, the movies had already, the previous movies had already told and showed me who they were. You know, it's like that saying, when a person shows you who they are the first time, believe them. I should have believed them, but instead my Jupiter ruling planet, like optimistic self was like, no, I believe in them. They can change. This is gonna be the movie, but it wasn't. This movie was basically like all the other Purge movies, just a bunch of wasted potential, and dare I say even worse, seeing as though this movie is incredibly timely and it was meant to parallel our actual reality. So the first thing I want to talk about is the social commentary. What did you think about the social commentary in the movie?
You mean what people are saying about it, or
just how it's meant to basically be associated with our times?
Okay, I think the first word that comes into my mind is hyperbole. You know what I mean? Like it just was like, it was like over the top, like really overdone. Can we do spoilers?
No spoilers.
Okay, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
Okay, let me just say, certain scenes in the movie, it's just they went way out of their way. Like, I don't know if this isn't a spoiler. At a particular point, there's an individual in the movie who's wearing a Sambo mask, and it's like, okay,
like, what was the point of the mask?
You mean you're asking me?
I mean, it's just like a rhetorical question, because
right.
I feel like what you're getting at is that like the social commentary, like basically it was weak. It was really surface level. Like there was nothing that they had added to the social commentary that would make you be like, oh, okay,
yeah,
like,
right.
I get what it is that you're. I mean,
right.
You understand the where they're trying to go with it, but it was really surface level, and I think it made the movie itself come off as feeling tone deaf, and it felt like they were basically exploiting the times that we're living in by adding in all of these different moments from the movie. And I mean, not to spoil it, but there is a point in time where you have this female character that gets grabbed up, she escapes, and then as she's running away, she says this line that was clearly meant to I don't want to say pay homage, but like that's meant to make us think about a certain thing that's going on right now. But it didn't do that. And then like the baseball field scene, that was it was so random. Like I was sitting in the theater like what is this?
But a lot of that, like just like that mask, superficial. There's a lot of superficial. It's like, you know what? It's like they follow the formula. Like we can drop this in and drop this in, drop this in, and it'll have meaning and it'll be a hit and we'll get paid. But I can't spoil the movie, but I started the movie with Nino Brown. I finished it with Rambo. I'm like, what is going on? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like outside of the fear and anxiety that I'm sure that people will have seeing these moments from our real life that are supposed to be associated with this situation. I'm sure that people are going to be thinking, oh, wow, like our reality is so close to the Purge. But it felt like the filmmakers were like, this is what the people want, because they're always making jokes about how close our reality is to the Purge. And so let's just go ahead and play it to that instead of making something of substance. It was just the social commentary was weak. And I think that it speaks to a larger problem, like I already said, where I just feel like these movies don't really push the boundaries in the way that they should. Like I feel like this franchise could really be in a lane of its own, where it like bends genres in the way that Get Out did. Like this movie, well, the franchise could be movies where it's like it's horror, it's action, it's satire, it's a documentary of sorts, it's drama, but they just go for the bare minimum because they know that at the end of the day, the bare minimum is still going to make them money. And I just feel like it's really lazy, and it's incredibly frustrating for someone like me to see these movies, and especially with the kind of subject matter that they have, it's like it deserves so much more. Now, what'd you think of the acting?
Look, I thought the movie was corny. I thought from top to bottom, the movie was corny. So when I'm looking at some of the acting, this, what? Perfect. This was a straight to DVD movie.
Yeah,
that's
what you call a what is it, a B movie?
Yes,
B movie.
Yes, definitely. And so, the acting, I think they had there was and I'm trying to get in my mind the more experienced actors that they had. Marissa Tomei they had, and then they had, I forget the guy's name. He does a lot of cop shows. Bald head black guy. Yeah,
he played. He was in the first Medea movie, the one that was in the wheelchair.
Right, exactly.
I don't know his name, but yeah, y'all know.
More experience, and I've seen him do well in movies. But those three guys, when I first saw it, I was like, this is out of place. Three dudes sitting in lawn chairs, just kind of. I don't know. It was corny to me though. It made him look corny, and I don't. Even Marissa Tomei, who I don't know if the people watching are like me, cool from the 80s, a different world. You know, different world was the 90s, but, you know, grow up in the 80s and 90s, a different world. I had respect for Miss Marissa Tomei, right? But even she being in it, it just, man, I was disappointed.
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound as pessimistic as him. So I wanted to give props to at least two people. I mean, I think that Daniel from Insecure, like, he does well in his role. I would like to see him in more. And the guy that played Skeletor, like, he played the creepy role well, but I'm not saying that, you know, everybody in this movie deserved Oscars. Like, the acting isn't anything to write home about.
I felt like he was out of place in this movie. I just felt like he was out of place.
I could see that. But he played creepy well, right?
He did it really well.
Yeah.
He did, and that's the only reason why. That's the reason why I would say that I didn't like it, and I didn't like his character. Him being like, he could easily be a horror character. I mean, he did a great job, but it was like you stuck a horror character into
this movie that like doesn't really understand what they're trying to be.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Now, in terms of the actual characters, I felt like I guess I could say like the development was subpar. So you could tell that the writers, they basically gave us enough about these characters to where you wouldn't be completely in the dark as to why, you know, they're doing things in the movie that they're doing. But I don't know, it's like they're not really explored in the way that they should have been. Like they throw in all of these side characters that honestly really didn't need to be there. Like when they brought in the mother and the daughter, it was so out of left field. I was like, okay, so what's their story? And then talk about the three wise men. It's like they put them in the beginning of the movie and then we don't see them. And then we're just thrown right into some action with them. And it's like, so what have they been up to? Like, I understand that they probably want for, like with this movie, they want to show like how the Purge is affecting all these people. But if you're not really being responsible with those characters to where like you're developing them in the right way, then your audience is just going to kind of be confused and not really feel any connection or empathy or sympathy for them. But I did want to talk about Marissa Tomei's character. I feel like that was the character that they did. They really did her dirty. Like if I had to compare it to all the other characters, I really think they dropped the ball with her character. And I say that because this is going to be hard without trying to spoil anything. But I feel like we should have been able to dive way more into her head than what we did, because the theory that she posits is so incredibly wild. And then like knowing the consequences that could come from that theory, even though they give us like we know why it is that she wants to do it. I feel like there was still like this huge gray area when it came to her character, to where we're just like, okay, so but like what else? Like I don't know, they really did not do her character well at all. Like knowing how wild everything that's happening in this movie is, everything should have been clear cut. But with their character, I remember walking out and thinking, okay, so like why would she come up with this?
Right.
You shouldn't, like, that should not be the case, especially like I said with how important she is to this particular movie and the whole Purge situation.
Yeah.
Now in terms of this movie as a prequel, how do you think it worked as a prequel? So like it's supposed to have told us why and how the Purge came to be. How do you think they did with that?
No, I think it was horrible. It just didn't make sense to me. It seemed okay. First of all, it seemed pretty okay. I'm trying not to spoil it. Let me scale it down. I just think that it could have been great as a prequel. Because
right, it could have. Like I said before,
just like in reality, a lot of times what you see is when they're gonna roll something out, when it's government or some type of policy, when they're gonna roll it out, they're tried in a small area first, right? And again, we've seen them do this, especially with poor people of color. They'll try things, you know, whether it's something in food or, you know, like I mentioned before, the Tuskegee experiments. They'll try it, you know, and then, you know, they'll scale it. Okay, you kind of got it right there, but I don't know. It seemed advanced. For one, it seemed advanced what they were doing compared to the others. The only way that the other movies advanced past this one was just the scope of how many people were purging. I mean, other than that, it just didn't sound like a prequel to me.
Yeah, so the way that this movie starts is basically how all of the other Purge movies starts. We're jumping right into the action, like right before the Purge happens. And I feel like with the movie like this, where we're supposed to understand how and why the purge came to be, or how society could get to this point to where they would even allow for the purge to happen. They don't do that. All the conflict and violence and tension that would have made the story that much better is basically relegated to like a 30-second montage in the beginning of the movie. And we're like, wait, that's where the story is. And then, I mean, with the characters of the new founding fathers, so those are the people that are controlling the society where, you know, they're allowing for the purge to now be an experiment. But they're basically non-existent in this movie. And I feel like a lot of the things that would have made just the narrative of the movie that much better were left out. And it's just, that's why I said, like, it feels like another Purge movie. Like, it really doesn't feel like a prequel all that much. And then, like, when it comes to, I guess, the plot twist, like when we find out everything that's going on behind the scenes, it's not really a plot twist. It's like you either go into the movie with the inclination that this is happening, or you know that it's happening, or they basically tell you everything that's happening in the beginning of the movie. So you're just sitting there, like, once everything is gets revealed, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, what else? Like,
yeah. I was waiting for a twist.
Yeah.
And you know, when you talked about the mother and the daughter coming in, usually when I'm watching movies and a character comes in, I'm like, okay, why is this character coming in? How are they going to twist it? You know? So you said the mother and daughter, which was Lauren, I think Velez, or I think that's her name. Anyway, New York Undercover, once again, you come up in the 80s and 90s, you know, New York Undercover. And she played in Dexter. Did you ever watch Dexter?
No, I didn't watch
Okay, Dexter. She was on Dexter too, but, you know, a familiar face to me, somebody who I like to see on the screen. When she came in, I figured that there'd be some kind of twist, like, well, that would tell the movie. But I just expected more. Certain characters were, like you said, totally unnecessary. There really was nothing that was like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, the movie's just incredibly underwhelming. Did you have any other thoughts about the movie?
No. After I left, I decided not to think about it anymore. That was it. It was over. I'm flushing it from my mind after this, Jordan. I gave you my best. I'm done with the Purge. I'm done.
So, I mean, one last thing that I wanted to say is that I could definitely tell this movie was heavily edited, which I'm guessing was more than likely to fit a certain runtime. Like, I did feel like certain things happened a bit too fast. Like, there were certain storylines that were set up in the beginning of the movie that were resolved a lot quicker than I had expected. So, yeah, I do think that maybe had the movie been longer, that maybe some of these problems could have been fixed. But overall, yeah, just no. So you wouldn't recommend this movie at all?
I wouldn't. Was it about 90 minutes? Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed kind of short to me too. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if I had to sum up my thoughts about this movie, you can basically understand this movie as Scorpion and understand the entire Purge franchise as being the Drake of the movie industry. So we know that his new album Scorpion came out, and we also know that it's not his best work. Now, if you don't agree with me, I don't care. You can debate your dead goldfish on that one. But I mean, you know, if you are a legit Drake fan, so if you love what it is that he's delivered time and time again, then you were at the least probably satisfied with the album. But even though you were probably satisfied, it still does not, at the end of the day, negate the fact that Drake himself as an artist has not grown, and that he continues to just deliver the same thing over and over and over again, outside of, you know, when he dips into other cultures. And that's basically how you can look at this Purge movie. This movie is like all of the other Purge movies, but if you liked all of the other Purge movies and if you saw nothing wrong with them, then you will probably like this one because it's just a bunch of the same. So I'm not saying that I recommend it or don't recommend it. You know how you felt about them, so yeah, just go off of that, and we're gonna leave it off at that. Now, going ahead.
I like the Drake album.
Really?
I did, but I'm easily satisfied. Look, like you said, it's the same thing, and if you're looking for more, then you probably will be satisfied. But I don't listen to Drake all the time, for one, and so me not going to every album, like I dip in every now and again, and you know, I'm all like Kiki.
Well, that's like the only song that people are talking about out of the 25 songs. So I mean,
yeah. Did you like Kanye? I know you got to move on.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
like Kanye? Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people said they hated the latest.
No,
Kanye.
the Kanye album is great. I mean, lyrically, it could have been better, but yeah, Kanye album is great. But we're not here to talk about that. We're going to talk about this Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. So it stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Pena, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Abby Ryder-Fortson, Lawrence Fishburne, and Hannah John Kamen. And basically with this movie, we have Scott Lang / the Ant-Man that's dealing with the fact that he has just a couple of more days until he's off of house arrest. But then, of course, a mission arises where Hope and Hank are trying to find her mother / his wife. And so they, of course, come to Scott for his help, and then that complicates a lot of stuff. Now, initially speaking about this movie, what were your thoughts? Like, did you grow up, you know, reading comics or into superheroes? Have you seen all of the Marvel movies?
I've seen all the Marvel movies. I didn't know anything about Ant-Man before before I started hearing about the first Marvel movie, because I wasn't really excited about Marvel when I was younger. I had a lot of friends who were just didn't really interest me until the movie started coming out. But I enjoyed this Ant-Man though. I did. I enjoyed it. I think I don't want to go ahead of you, but there were some things in this movie that excited me when you talk about the other Marvel movies.
Okay, and so before we get into that, my initial thoughts. I mean, I was definitely looking forward to this movie. I liked the first one a lot. I mean, going into it, I'm sure as I'm sure a lot of people, you hear, Superman. I mean, a superhero called Ant-Man, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with that movie. Now, besides that, bringing in another superhero movie that I recently saw, Deadpool 2. Now, with me being as disappointed as I was with that movie, and if you are at all surprised that I was disappointed with it, then you may want to check out my review where I talked all about Deadpool 2, and so you can kind of understand where it is that I'm coming from. But I do remember after seeing that movie thinking to myself, Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably going to be what Deadpool 2 had tried, or at the very least hoped that they would be. And I have to say that my prediction was right. Even though I understand that they are two different movies, I do feel like if you had to choose any of the Marvel characters and Marvel stories that could be compared, it would be these two stories, even though I know that Deadpool is Fox right now. So in terms of the humor, what did you think about the humor?
I laughed. I laughed at it. You know what? Because of who I am as a dad, I watched the movie thinking, okay, can my kids see this? Is this one of those Marvel movies that slips in a couple cuss words, or can I bring them? And so the whole time I'm kind of filtering it that way, not necessarily watching it for myself. But there were a few things that I laughed at. I thought T.I. was in the movie, and when he is in there with the characters that he shows up with, I laughed a couple of times. I thought the humor was. I mean, I wasn't rolling out of my seat laughing. But I'll say this: the humor complemented the movie.
Yeah, I like the humor. I definitely think that it worked. If I had to bring in Deadpool 2 so that you guys could understand a little bit more where it is that I'm coming from, that was one of the biggest gripes that I had with that movie, is that I wasn't a fan of the humor. I felt like they tried a bit too hard with the humor, like it was a bit too in your face. Granted, I understand that, the Deadpool character is meant to be, really sarcastic and witty, and whatever kind of adjectives that you want to use to describe him. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the humor in the way that I'm sure a lot of other people were. But I felt like with this movie, the humor was a lot more subtle, and it stuck for me. Now, like you said, I wasn't laughing every 2 minutes, like out loud, but yeah, I like the humor in this movie. In terms of Paul Rudd, what did you think of him and just the Ant-Man character?
I think that seeing the first Ant-Man and then seeing Ant-Man in Civil War, him appearing in other movies, I think he carried the character once again. He didn't do a bad job. I mean, he did a fine job. Ant-Man, I just have to put this out there. Ant-Man is not the most exciting superhero to me. He's not.
Who's your most exciting superhero?
All right, I'm gonna have to say Black Panther, right? Because that's the right thing to say. But no, really, like I really do enjoy Black Panther and everything that Black Panther could be. I fell asleep on Deadpool 2, so yeah. But who's my most exciting? Right now would have to be Black Panther. I'm sure there's somebody else. But before Black Panther, I like Iron Man. But I just like all the gadgets and everything. Tony Stark, not really huge on Thor. He's cool, but right now,
Black Panther.
Black Panther's got the seat right now.
So, in terms of my thoughts about Paul Rudd and the Ant-Man character, I mean, of course, this role it's tailor-made for Paul Rudd. He, of course, does an amazing job as the superhero. But I did see someone kind of talk about a gripe that they had with this movie, where if you were to compare his character in this movie to the first one, in the first one he's a lot more smarter, like he's a lot more savvy in the first one, whereas with this one he does come off more as like a bumbling sidekick to the Wasp character. And so I can see where it is that they're coming from with that, but I wasn't necessarily mad at that because I did enjoy seeing Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp and, you know, seeing her get her shine in that way. I know that the director wanted to make sure that this was a Wasp movie as much as it was an Ant-Man movie. And so, yeah, he definitely played up to that. And getting into, again, Deadpool 2, that was another gripe that I had with the movie where there was a certain female character that all she basically did was just sit on a sofa or a chair for basically like the whole movie. And I was like, what is this? Whereas with this movie, she's out here kicking butt and taking names, and I enjoyed that. But, you know, going back to the gripe, I do think they could have done that without regressing Scott's character in that way. So.
Well, you know, they do that to dads on TV. I'm sensitive to that because I am a dad.
Because you're a dad.
They make dads look stupid on TV all the time. And so, really, it kind of fell in line with what they do with dads, where, you know, they kind of defer to mom or the motherly character. She kind of knows more. She's a little more aware of everything. And so, you know,
Did you have any thoughts on any of the other characters? Like, did you have a favorite? Somebody that you dislike?
I mean, I really like the Wasp. Lawrence Fishburne was in there. I'm always happy to see Lawrence Fishburne show up in a movie. And then the girl that played Ghost, who looked like Little Mama to me.
Well, I can see that.
But I feel like I saw her in something else.
Yeah, she's definitely been in Black Mirror, I believe. I don't know if you've seen that,
okay.
But yeah, I believe she was in Black Mirror. Like I saw
on
her
Netflix.
on
You're talking
IMDb.
about. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I may have seen her on there because I haven't watched Black Mirror all the way through. I may have seen a couple of episodes, but you know, when I go to Netflix, is like the way back machine for me. I go and I watch. I watch old shows. I go back and watch old shows. Some new, but yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I guess other characters, if I had to just shout them out really quick. Of course, Michael Pena does, he steals the show in whatever scene that he's in, but he basically did that in the first one. So no big surprise there. BD Wong, I thought, was another great addition to this movie. I love the little girl. Her chemistry with Paul Rudd, I think, was really good.
Really good.
But, I mean, in terms of the villains, did you have any thoughts about them?
What's my guy's name? My guy that plays in Vice Principals. I don't remember. You watch that show that's on HBO. Another old head show. Thank you, Jordan, for making me feel old,
You're
stupid,
welcome.
out of
That's
touch.
what I'm here for.
Oh man, but no, the character who was trying to steal the device in the beginning, I don't remember his name, but I think every time I see him, he's almost the same character every time I see him.
So he's being typecasted?
In my mind, it may be me. The first time I saw him was on a show on FX called The Shield back in the day. You probably didn't watch that either.
Nope.
But and it wasn't that far back in the day. It was at least in the 2000s. But he played a bad cop, a crooked cop. And then since then, though, I've seen him, you know, his character kind of take the role similar to what it is now. At least in my mind, and you know, he was a good villain. I think there wasn't that super villain. I don't know if I was looking for that, because to me, Ghost wasn't necessarily a super villain. I could tell at a certain point in the movie, okay, she's gonna need to be saved, you know, and some way that's gonna come together by the time this is over.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, yeah, the Ghost character, she's definitely not the best. I mean, and especially like coming off of the heels with villains like Killmonger and Thanos, it definitely feels like a step back.
Yes.
But in terms of the other villain, I'm not gonna say like he didn't do well, but I really did not see a reason for his character. Granted, like he does create conflict, but I do think that had they taken him out and of course like fixed the things that would have been affected by his not being there, that the movie still would have worked. Like they didn't need his character. I don't think that he was necessary. And I do think that had they maybe taken his character out and given that time that they gave to him to the Ghost character, that she would have been a lot better. Yeah,
it's like they gave you half of a villain to get home.
And I don't know if that's like a part of the Marvel contract where they have to have like two villains in their movies, because I've noticed that they do that. But if that is the case, I do think that they should at the very least rethink how often they use two villains, because I do think that it works against their villains sometimes. Like, I mean, even throwing in Killmonger, well, Black Panther. So we all know how we felt about Killmonger. And I did like Andy Serkis as Claw, but just think about how much better of a villain Killmonger would have been if Andy Serkis wasn't in the movie, and they gave all of that time to really developing his character. Like we got to see more of where he came from, his whole thought process and all that kind of stuff. So,
or some of that background CIA stuff.
Yeah.
I wish that Killmonger wasn't gone.
Yeah.
That could have been more of a character in my mind, but who am I?
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a Killmonger standalone movie. Maybe I'm thinking too.
I don't know. Michael B. Jordan's
optimistic.
got juice. He's got, and maybe after Creed, you know, his notoriety will go even more. I don't know.
Let's hope. So another thing that that I wanted to talk about, I mean, we already saw this in the first one, but just the Ant-Man world that gets created. You know, it's definitely the thing that distinguishes this character from the other superhero characters that we have. You know, they're able to make their characters or objects get really small or really big, and it just makes for a really fun movie. And I think that it does help the action scenes. A little bit. Like, I don't know how you felt about the action, but I enjoyed the action scenes. You know, I do wish that we had gotten a little more action. Like, I do remember sitting in the theater and thinking I could use some action. That's usually, like, I'm not usually that kind of person. Like, I don't mind, like, I don't need a lot of stimulus or stimuli to enjoy a movie. But, you know, if you are someone that enjoys action, you may be a little disappointed by this movie because there is a stretch of time where there is really no action. But it wasn't a huge flaw to me. Like, I still was able to follow the movie and enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the action. Yeah. I mean, I thought the movie I thought it was pretty balanced. I thought it was pretty balanced. Could there have been a little bit more action? Maybe. But I thought overall it was a pretty balanced movie. You know, it wasn't really over the top. It was, you know, I enjoyed it. Fun
so did you have any other thoughts about the movie?
I'd say if you go see this movie, stay at least for the first after credit scene.
Oh yeah.
At least for the first one. There's two of them.
Yeah, the second one, it's really not important, to be honest. But yeah, that first one, yeah, definitely make sure, because I don't want to say anything else. Yeah, just make sure you stay.
It was good for me.
Yeah.
It made me happy. Like, oh wow, yes. I was happy about that.
So yeah, I mean, you know, it's rare that I walk out of a sequel satisfied, or at the very least feeling like it met my expectations. But I think Ant-Man and the Wasp really did that. Like, I really enjoyed this movie.
I liked it better than the first one.
I mean, yeah, I would say that, but I could see why it is that some people wouldn't. Again, going back to the Ant-Man character and then maybe the action. But yeah, I think I like the second one more than the first one. So we would recommend for you all to see Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Go see it.
Yeah, so with that being said, that will end today's episode. I want to thank Stacey for coming in today and helping me review these movies. I really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Jordan and Jordan reviews.
Yeah. So yeah, if you enjoyed what it is that you heard or saw today, I've done a bunch of other episodes thus far. I do this show every week, 12:30 to 1 every Tuesday. Next week, I will be reviewing one movie. I don't know what it is else that I'm going to be doing. I'll figure that out, but yeah, you can definitely count on a movie that had a limited release this week and will be that will have a wide release. Well, last week and will have a wide release this week. So yeah, make sure that you all tune into next week's show. And if you had any comments, questions, or concerns about today's episode, hit me up on either Twitter at JORDI Reviews or on Facebook at Jordan CHISLEY. And I will see you all next week. All right, bye.
Have you seen